Welcome back out to the greenhouse. Now, if you're new out here, welcome. We really appreciate you guys stopping by and checking out our videos. Now, today we're going to be discussing our compost heater and the process of building it. I've tried to share every step and every little thing that I've done to get to the point where we're at now. So we've ran water lines, we've ran air lines. Now all we've got left to do, the final step, is healing it in, or wrapping a fence around and putting up our transfer wall out of a DIY piece of plywood, an old recycled piece of plywood that we are transferring our lines through. And we've got to insulate those lines because we will see some frigid temperatures this winter, and we want to continue to have good heat transfer and flow through all of those lines without being negatively impacted by the temperature outside. Now, if that sounds interesting to you, please consider subscribing to the channel. We've got a lot of you on here, and we appreciate every one of you guys. You guys make this possible. I'd like to issue a huge thank you to everybody watching these videos. So let's get on with today's video. I was out here feeding my son's fish yet. They're a little camera shy sometimes, but he probably already fed them. So I had you guys behind the shade cloth to the pond so it wasn't super bright on you. We've got a lot of crops popping up in here, and we are into the beginning of November here. All these videos will probably be dated 3 weeks to a month later, so it's just how the process works. I just wanted to give a quick glance at the whole greenhouse and what we've got going on and how things look now and how it will progress. I always like to update everybody on what's growing. Jumping down here real quick, I had ordered a nice little wind turbine. So this thing's made out of metal. It's pretty darn heavy. Seems to have a decent sized generator. So I'm gonna do a video on this by itself. I'm like a kid opening presents on Christmas. We've got all the fins and everything. It came with a mounting pipe, just a small, like 4-inch pipe. We have to supply the 10-foot, 12-foot pipe, or whatever size I see fit. So we're gonna be using this little wind generator or windmill to power some of our greenhouse or some items in the greenhouse through the winter when we don't have a whole lot of sunlight. So this will be a cool experiment. I was just kind of excited to open it and see what it looked like, so I thought I'd share with you guys. The whole entire thing, the body is metal. So when we actually do a video specifically on this itself and review it, which we're not getting paid for any item that we're sharing. I don't have any contracts or deals or anything with anybody. We are not sponsored. We are doing this solely by ourselves. So as this channel progresses here, we're going to try and stay out of the mainstream and just run this by ourselves with no extra BS on top. So we're sitting about 80 degrees in the greenhouse there, and it's about 50 out here. It's not bad, not nearly as windy as it has been, so we're doing pretty good today. And I thought I'd come out and finish all of this up before we dump all of the compost either tomorrow or the next day. So we've got all our fencing, we've got our transfer wall there, and then we've got to run some insulation on all of the lines. I just have a temporary system to block any rodents from coming in, even though that might not work the best right now, but I'm going to seal that up as best as possible. I'm going to fashion myself a nice sleeve for all of these lines out of that insulation right there. So let's jump right into this. So yes, I used a large piece of concrete, a decorative cinder block basically, to pound that in. Sometimes I feel like a caveman, but I get so many bricks for free. I pick them up whenever possible for free. I can do that, and I didn't damage it. It's not broken, it didn't crack, and it can go right in the greenhouse. I figured everybody would have a head scratcher moment like, what's he doing? But using that brick, there's a lot of mass to it, so I can pound those huge poles through all the wood chips and everything, all the debris, trying to stop it from going in. So that's an easy method when you don't have a post hole pounder. This is the same piece of fence that we've been using for years now, and this pile is going to be a little bit bigger. I just wanted to show the size and how we're trying to get a good gap all the way around. I want at least 4 or more feet in between the outsides and the inside. Go ahead and take a bunch of these little green posts here and just kind of tack all of this fencing in place. Now that we're looking at the ring, pretty well fully built here and just kind of half tacked together, we've got a nice good ring, and you can see how our lines are sitting right on top of each other. The black lines will be staggered up in the pile so they won't be close to each other, and we've got a good 4 foot around, all the way around, if not more. So we've got our transfer wall there, all of our lines sitting nice and tight. It looks very good. Now all we've got left to do is get the transfer wall set up in there and insulate these lines coming from the greenhouse out probably a foot into the pile. So we're gonna have a good chunk of insulation here. This fiberglass insulation was not my first option, but when I looked at the price of a nice 13-14 inch insulated duct, it was super expensive. It was like $128. I spent $25 on this one roll here. So not too bad of an investment. I made myself one massive piece here just by seaming them together. You can barely even see it, but there's a seam right there. And this is the piece that I flapped over on the other side. So this piece is going to wrap around all of our pipe, come back over to this side, and then we will be folding it up and making a big circle or tube to insulate all of those lines. So I probably should have worn gloves when I was handling the insulation fiberglass, but my hands are so dusty and dirty. I'm not itchy or anything, and I just did the old shirt over the face while I was actually handling that stuff because I could see little tiny bits flying off. So I just hate this stuff, but I had to insulate it. I'm not gonna use that next time. I'm probably gonna spend money on a nice metal system for next year on the air heating aspect, possibly water too. Taking a quick overview here. We've got our lines situated. We've got our insulation running all the way in, basically up butting to the greenhouse. It's nice and sealed up. This is basically just a DIY insulation tube that we made for ourselves here. Just wanted to share that process. We've got our transfer wall up, and that cutout fit perfectly. I didn't have to cut or do any modifying to our systems. You can see we've got all of our lines running right in. Everything's nice and protected, running right through the transfer wall into the greenhouse here. So all we got left to do is dump that compost, and if anybody has any questions, my battery's about to die because we've been out here so long. So I want to thank you guys for watching and checking this one out. Lots of cool stuff going on here on the homestead. So hopefully everybody found this interesting and had some questions answered just by going through the process of building this with us.